In a strange arena, a strongly built man folded his arms over his chest and addressed the gathering. "I'm Mormont Carl. I'm a mercenary. I don't know why I'm here," he stated bluntly. Another man, Lyle, who ran a carpenter shop in Idola, echoed the same ignorance. An obese man named Grit, who ran a street food stall in Hasla, also admitted he had no idea why he had been brought there. A red-haired girl introduced herself as Jenna, who lived deep within a remote forest, and like the others, she too had no clue why she was in that unfamiliar place. Then a man named Islet Han, who said he was a farmer, told the group that he, just like them, had no understanding of how or why they had arrived there. And so, one by one, all 11 individuals introduced themselves. Each and every one of them expressed the same bafflement and lack of knowledge about their sudden displacement. Amidst this cloud of confusion, someone timidly suggested that perhaps they were gathered here as experimental subjects for some powerful mage. Mormont scoffed at this speculation and harshly dismissed it, declaring it nonsense. But then, Idola pointed out that while they knew very little about their situation, one thing was certain: they all hailed from Tonia. If they talked and shared what little they knew, perhaps something useful could be learned. That very moment, a sudden flutter of light and motion startled them all. A fairy appeared before them. Her small, radiant form hovered confidently in the air. "What nonsense are you all talking about?" she scolded with a dismissive tone. When someone cautiously asked who she was, she introduced herself as Isel, the manager and overseer of that place. Mormont stepped forward, his towering form looming over her, ready to demand answers. But Isel sharply warned him to stay in line if he valued his life. Mormont sneered and accused her of shamelessness, saying she had kidnapped them without explanation. Enraged, he drew his sword and prepared to strike. But before he could move, Isel raised a single finger, and in one swift, effortless blow, she beheaded him. The gathered crowd froze in absolute horror as Mormont's lifeless body hit the ground. A chilling system notification appeared before them. "Mormont, return to the goddess embrace. Their fighting spirit will be remembered for eternity." The cause of death was marked. Stress, fear gripped them all. Shaken voices asked why she had killed him. Why had she not simply told them what she wanted? Isel, with cold detachment, responded that all they had to do was be obedient, fight well, and win. Then she announced that a crack in time and space had opened. They were to enter it and defeat the enemies within. If anyone dared lay a hand on her, they would be instantly executed just like Mormont. Her words silenced the crowd completely. Another notification suddenly appeared. Master has dragged and formed the party. The names of 5 individuals emerged in glowing text. Elwyale has joined Party 1. Ranto has joined Party 1. Marlin has joined Party 1. Kelkert has joined Party 1. Jackson has joined Party 1. Before the group could be dispatched, Han Islet stepped forward. Calm yet resolute, he pointed out that Mormont, despite being a 2-star mercenary, was killed in a single instant. How then could they expect 1-star heroes to survive in such a dangerous battle, as she for sure wanted them to climb the tower? It would be a suicide mission. He firmly suggested that they should at least be equipped with proper weapons. Jenna, upon hearing this, began to contemplate the nature of the tower and the situation they were all trapped in. She asked Han if he knew why they were summoned here, but he admitted that he himself had only recently arrived and was equally clueless. She pondered Mormont's demise and, reluctantly, agreed with Han's assessment. They needed weapons. Isel contemplated this and conveyed their request to the master for weapons. A notification appeared before them, giving them a tip. Heroes without weapons carry an old iron sword F into battle. If you place weapons into the weapon storage, they will be equipped. You can choose what weapons to be used. Please don't forget that. Soon after, another notification appeared telling them their request had been accepted. Master, starting 10 consecutive equipment summons. 10x summon costing them 50,000 gold. Han turned to the others and told them plainly, if they wanted even the slightest chance at survival, they had to go into the storage room and arm themselves. They followed his advice, each heading in to select a weapon. Once equipped, Party 1 was dispatched. However, their journey did not last long. System messages quickly followed, one after the other. Each member of the party had fallen in battle. The same mournful message repeated, Return to the goddess embrace. Their fighting spirit will be remembered for eternity. Isel was outraged. How could the entire party have perished on the very first try? Her fury was palpable, but there was no time to mourn or deliberate. It was now time to form and dispatch the second party. This group included Jan, Jenna, Dajil, Grit, and Kale. They were now designated as Party 1 and were instructed to prepare to enter the crack. Han advised them to be ready. Dajil, however, attempted to excuse himself, claiming he suffered from arthritis and was unfit for battle. Jenna, clearly unconvinced, dismissed his lies. She reminded him that he hadn't shown any signs of illness earlier. Still, Dajil continued with his feeble protest. Refusing to let him run away, Jenna grabbed him by the collar and dragged him with her toward the crack in time and space. The moment they entered, a notification greeted them. Climb the tower and save the world. You are on floor 1. Stage is conquered. 0. Another message warned them that the gate was opening. Han reminded everyone not to freeze and told them to step forward. Together, they advanced, emerging into a vast wilderness. A final directive appeared. Finish off the enemies. Climb the tower. Suddenly, goblins came rushing toward them. A system message informed them that their stats had been reduced by 30% except for Han. The shock was too much for 3 members of the party. Except for Han and Jenna, the rest turned and tried to flee, only to be blocked by an invisible wall. Dajil, in a panic, pounded on the wall, shouting that he needed to use the bathroom due to a sudden stomach issue. No one responded. Grit and Kale also slammed their fists against the wall in desperation. Jenna turned to Han and asked whether defeating the goblins would allow them to escape this trap. Han confirmed it, and then asked if she knew how to use the bow she was holding. Jenna replied that she did. Her father had been a hunter, and she had trained with a bow from a young age. Han nodded and told her to stand back and provide cover fire while he took on the goblins directly. As he rushed forward, he thought to himself, his name was Islet Han, and he was a farmer. But in truth, his real name was Han Seojin, and somehow, inexplicably, he had been transported into this wretched game. Pick-me-up world, a world ruled by probability, chaos, and cold-hearted systems. A world where luck, more than skill or strength, dictated life and death. In the immersive world of Pick-me-up, a game designed by the famed Mobius Corporation, the primary goal was simple yet daunting: reach the 100th floor. Players were given heroes to control, train, and strategically enhance by building materials and formulating combat tactics to ascend through increasingly dangerous levels. The power of each hero was measured on a star-based ranking system, from 1 to 7 stars. While some players boasted armies of high-ranking champions, Han Seojin was not one of them. Despite countless gacha pulls purchase and an immense investment of time, he had never managed to obtain a hero beyond 5 stars. Luck had never been on his side. Just a day before the unimaginable happened, Han Seojin had been living a completely ordinary life. That was until he received a notification celebrating a milestone in the game he had poured so much effort into notifying them. A special event will be held to celebrate Pick-me-up reaching 100 million downloads. The incredible support from masters all over the world has made this achievement possible. The event details were enticing. Event INF logging in from January 27th to February 5th would grant players 100 gems daily, an opportunity to earn up to 1,000 gems. Masters logging in would receive 1 high-rank hero summon card, capable of summoning a hero ranked 3 stars or higher. Lastly, a mysterious dungeon titled the Transcendental Advent Dungeon would be opened, while the title Transcendental Advent left Han Seojin slightly perplexed. Excitement surged through him. Perhaps something great would finally happen in this bloated, luck-based game. Brimming with hope, he logged in. Upon entering, Han noticed many other players gathered within the dungeon, all seemingly prepared for combat. However, something was off. Panic filled the air. The tension among the heroes was palpable, and to his shock, their stats had suddenly plummeted by 30%. One hero even spoke of retreat. Confused, Han couldn't understand what could terrify them so much. After all, the moment a boss's pattern was deciphered, victory was within reach, and then it hit him. They were facing enemies at level 999, something that should have been impossible. It had to be a bug. Before he could process this anomaly, a chilling notification appeared. All other players had died. In utter disbelief, Han tried to comprehend how such experienced players could be eliminated so early. Then, a strange, obscurely shaped entity turned toward him and uttered 2 words that froze him in place. "Found you." Expecting to face death inside the game, Han braced himself. But instead of perishing, he found himself enveloped in darkness, surrounded by nothing familiar. Confusion morphed into fear as a system prompt appeared before him, asking him to choose a master name. Still too stunned to respond, the system selected it for him, naming him Anything. Befuddled, Han questioned, "Does it mean anything?" The system simply confirmed. Next, it asked if he wished to start the tutorial. Though he hadn't actively made a choice, he was instantly transported into an unknown realm in a small town of the Heim province. There was a boy named Han Islet. Unable to grasp what was happening, Han was told he had entered Tonia, a land once shared by humans and other species, now overrun by unknown enemies. As the newly appointed hero by a master, it was his destiny to climb the tower and save the world. Suddenly, goblins emerged before him. Though Han had never wielded a weapon in his life, something instinctual awakened within him. As if guided by unseen hands, he unsheathed a sword and effortlessly took down his enemies. He thought, could it be that he was inside the game? Isel appeared before him, and when he inquired her about it, she looked at her ledger and found him different from Islet Han, who was supposed to hear. She realized that she had done a mistake, as the person who was standing before her wasn't Islet, but Han Seojin from the Earth, and she had mixed them up. However, instead of acknowledging it, she forced him back into the gaming world. Now, following his unexpected victory, the system rewarded him and informed him that he could summon another hero and form a party, free of charge at this initial stage. Without him doing anything, a hero materialized. Her window stat opened before him. Shay Lathistry, level 1 EXP 0 out of 10, class, Knight stats, strength 19/19, intelligence 10 out of 10, health 18/18, agility 22/22 skills, combat logic, LV.1, intermediate swordsmanship, LV.1, knight's determination, LV.1. She appeared with poise and confidence, gazing directly at him. "Did you summon me?" "Who are you?" she asked. Still disoriented, Han replied, "H. Han Seojin." She raised an eyebrow and muttered, "What a weird name." Realizing he had stuttered, Han corrected himself and repeated his name more clearly. Soon, they were assigned their first joint task. On the battlefield, Shay demonstrated incredible combat prowess, blazing through enemies with refined precision. Han, observing her, couldn't bring himself to complain, not with her impressive 4-star status. However, her sharp eyes eventually picked up on his lack of command. "You're a newbie, aren't you?" she asked. Han admitted it hadn't been long since he arrived. Together, they exterminated all the goblins. But the mission wasn't over yet. Now came the system's next demand, synthesizing. In order to enhance one hero, another had to be sacrificed. Accepting this process meant embracing someone's death. Han wasn't ready for such a choice, but the system made it anyway. To his horror, he wasn't the one synthesizing. He was being sacrificed because of his low level. He should have been chosen by the master to be eliminated. As he was supposed to fading, Shay began to disappear instead. Before she vanished, she turned to him, her voice firm and resolved, entrusting everything to him. And then, she was gone, and he was summoned along with other 11 heroes, now in the fierce battle with Jinnah and others. As they clashed with relentless goblins, one by one, his companions fell. Only he and Jinnah Sarai remained. Exhausted, and with his arms severely injured, Han pressed on. Despite overwhelming odds, they fought on without despair and eventually subdued the enemy. Han collapsed onto the ground, trying to make sense of everything. It must have been the level 999 bug monster that dragged him into this world. That's the only explanation he had. All he knew now was this. He had become Islet Han, a 1-star hero trapped in a game where players held no control over combat. In Pick Me Up, the player, known as the Master, merely watched the heroes fight, akin to a god overlooking a battlefield. Looking up at the heavens, Han muttered, "Are you having fun?" He, too, was once a player who had relished every strategy, every pull, and every tactical nuance of pick-me-up. But now, the game wasn't just strategy, it was survival. He called out to Loki, the 5th-ranked Master of Masters. "Watch me," he challenged. "Watch me survive to the very end." Then, a new system notification chimed. Islet Han and Jinna Sarai have cleared the level. Rewards: 200 gold coins, steel, C, X2, copper, C, X1, leather, C, X1. Han Seojin finally came to terms with the reality he found himself trapped in. Refusing to indulge in complaints or self-pity, which he deemed childish, he made a solemn resolution to do whatever it took to survive. In this new and brutal game-like world, the fate of heroes hinged on 2 brutal outcomes: compounding, which likely referred to failure through stagnation or systemic breakdown, and death in battle. As someone born as a 1-star hero, the lowest possible rank, his chances of early demise were drastically higher than others. This understanding sparked a relentless determination in him to prepare himself fully for the brutal confrontations that awaited. Survival demanded more than raw physical power. It required resilience in mind, skill, and strategy. The Master, he knew, would soon evaluate all heroes based on 3 essential categories: mental stability, skill performance, and physical strength. Mental toughness was crucial because fear and emotional breakdown could sabotage even the most gifted fighters. Some low-ranked heroes might possess hidden skills not yet awakened, making it essential for the Master to assess carefully. As for physical prowess, it was the most immediate thing Han could work on, so he dedicated himself to intense training. Yet he also knew that mental endurance was what sustained one through longer battles and the psychological toll of this strange, gamified world. These thoughts triggered memories of his time in military training, moments of hardship that shaped his grit. Having grown up without parents, he had always stood alone, an orphan who survived by bracing against pain and pressure. Now, to live, he had to channel that same sharp, survivalist instinct into every breath and motion. While he was deep in his training regimen, Jinna approached him. She looked curious and slightly amused, asking him what he was doing so intensely. He replied tersely that he was training. Her follow-up question, "Why?" was met with an equally direct response: he needed to fight well in battle. Noticing the sharp edge in his voice, she asked why he was speaking so harshly. Unbothered, Jinna then shared that her father had been a hunter, and thus, she knew archery quite well. She wasn't afraid of danger and, like him, believed that whining was something only children did. He asked her if this would be her first real battle. She admitted that it was, explaining that she usually stayed indoors and had only practiced archery as a hobby. Han glanced at her stat window and took in the information. Jinna Sarai, plus, LV.2, EXP May 20th, Class, Novice, Strength, November 11th, Intelligence, October 10th, Stamina, November 11th, Dexterity, December 12th. Unique Skills, Low-Rank Archery, LV.1. It impressed him that her stats had increased by 4 points since the last battle. He told her he would support her. In return, Jinna mentioned that her father always said to work in a team, and wasn't he such a good father? Then, with a smile, she offered her hand to Han. This gesture showed her growing trust and affection for him. When they shook hands, a system notification appeared. Intimacy bonus has been created. Tips: you will receive stats bonuses when forming a party with another hero. Use it well. Han found the constant pop-up notifications and stat windows intrusive and annoying, so he summoned Isel, the quirky and somewhat unreliable guide or system avatar. She appeared immediately, scolding him for summoning her while she was very busy. Han replied in a teasing, sarcastic tone, if she was so busy, then why had she come so quickly? She scoffed and declared she wouldn't answer any of his questions unless he reached the 100th level of the tower. Still, Han pressed her and told her he knew the level that was written above her head. It was level 257. She was visibly shocked. Isel explained that the strange number was likely due to a mixing up of systems. He then asked her if time in this world corresponded equally to time in the real world. Though she refused to give a straight answer, her silence and mannerisms confirmed his suspicion. It wasn't. Isel disappeared once again, and Han resumed training. One major advantage he realized from this strange mix-up was that he could see other characters' stat windows, something normal characters couldn't do. This rare ability gave him deep insight into how the master operated and offered him strategic leverage. Isel would only appear in 2 instances, to deliver the master's messages and when Han's life was in danger, giving him only limited access to her help. After 3 days of non-stop training, Han reviewed his stats and was pleased to see measurable improvement. He had even gained some unique skills. Soon, he received a system notification: the master has logged in. Immediately alert, Han informed Jenna to get ready because the battle was about to begin. She asked nervously whether it would be just the 2 of them again. He told her the master could summon other heroes as well, and right on cue, 3 new individuals appeared. Like Jenna and Han during their first summoning, they were confused and full of questions. Their names were Aaron, Toby, and Yelson, fresh recruits summoned by the master. One of them lost his temper and yelled at Isel for answers. Before things could escalate, Jenna calmly dragged him toward the spatial crack, the entrance to the battlefield, reminding him to stay quiet if he wanted to survive and not to anger Isel. Han promised to explain everything once they were safely inside. The new mission appeared on their system window. 2nd floor, objective, conquest. Kill as many enemies as possible. However, there was one major problem. The armory was depleted. The weapons from the previous heroes were gone, and Han only had one worn-out sword. This time, they weren't just facing level 3 goblins, but also a formidable new enemy, a level 4 prairie wolf. As the battle began, he noticed that everyone's stats temporarily dropped by 30%, possibly due to initial fear or disorientation. Fortunately, Jenna quickly regained her composure and strength. Han asked if she was ready. When she nodded, he instructed her to take down the goblins while he handled the prairie wolf. Though his sword was dull and worn, he knew he had to make it count. Despite the odds stacked against them, he prepared himself for the fight ahead, determined to prove that even a 1-star hero could rise. Han found himself surrounded by a pack of wolves, realizing that taking them all at once would be reckless. Adopting a more tactical approach, he chose to eliminate them one by one. Using this methodical strategy, he was able to bring them down efficiently. As the final wolf fell, Han quickly scanned the battlefield. Not a single goblin remained. Off in the distance, Jenna was still relentlessly firing arrows. He sprinted over and informed her that the enemies were gone, telling her to stop shooting. At that very moment, a system notification flashed before their eyes. The conquest was complete. Their rewards included 5,000 gold coins, 1 iron ore, C, and 3 units of leather, C. Before they even had time to digest this success, another notification announced that they were being transferred to the 3rd floor. Shock rippled through them. Han guessed this must be Master's decision. Perhaps he expected them to keep climbing. But relief flooded in when Master suddenly logged out, halting their advancement. It became evident that the rule was to clear 1 floor at a time. Just then, Isel appeared, claiming she was exhausted. Han raised an eyebrow and questioned her fatigue, pointing out that it was he and Jenna who had done all the actual fighting. Soon after, a commotion broke out. Jenna was furiously arguing with the 3 other heroes. She accused them of cowardice for not joining the battle. They tried defending themselves with a list of excuses, claiming they didn't know how to fight or weren't ready. Han observed them closely, noting that heroes at level 1 were often mere commoners lacking any real desire to engage in combat. In contrast, higher-level heroes always jumped into battle eagerly. He pondered whether some heroes entered this world already knowing they were meant to fight, thinking briefly about Mormont. Jenna turned to Han, frustrated, and asked why he hadn't helped the others. Han responded sharply, questioning why he should bother with those bastards. Jenna argued that having even weak companions was better than being alone. She explained that if these heroes never entered combat, they couldn't die, and soon they would be disappeared. Understanding her point, Han declared that from now on, the 3 of them wouldn't have to fight. He and Jenna would handle it. One of the heroes tried to ask something, but Han, irritated, shut him down with a punch. Turning to Jenna, he said he had done what she asked. They began a rigorous training regime, starting with the basics and then progressing to weapons practice. Although their levels didn't increase, their skills sharpened. Day after day, Han swung his wooden sword tirelessly, while Jenna practiced her archery. At one point, An arrow even struck Han in the thigh. Jinna rushed to ask if he was alright, but injuries healed quickly in this world. Despite their dedication, the other 3 heroes never joined the training. All they did was complain, mostly about the monotonous potato-based meals. Isel reappeared and overheard their whining. She promptly beat sense into them, making them regret their attitude. 3 days passed, and then Isel approached Han and Jinna with news. When Master logged back in, all heroes were to gather in the square. Jinna was visibly excited and told Han she was finally feeling stronger thanks to the training. To their surprise, they cleared the 3rd floor quickly. Not only did they level up, but they also received better rewards: 7,000 gold coins, 2 units of iron ore C, and 1 leather C. The trio still didn't contribute to the fight, but Han didn't mind. It meant he didn't have to split experience points with them. However, Master had other plans. He introduced a new feature: round circles for uncooperative heroes. The idea was to force them into activity. They agreed to try it, but after several exhausting rounds, everyone was drained. Jinna complained about how much they had to endure because of the useless trio. Han replied that they were done for the day. Jinna, suspicious, asked what he meant. Did Master have more in store for them? Han simply said that it didn't seem like Master had the time to raise insects. Suddenly, another notification appeared. Synthesis has started. The 3 idle heroes were baffled. A second notification floated in the air, instructing the user to drag and drop a hero for synthesis, a warning that the selected hero would die in the process. Han looked at the trio, thinking they were fools who didn't even realize when opportunities or danger was knocking.